feeling golden, lost in the moment. It's taking over me. Keep your composure, you know that I want ya. Can you just hold that beat? Just turn the lights up, baby. Let it go.
Hey guys, good morning. It is, what is the date today? April 16th?
That's it.
2000.
I've lost track.
I know, I don't even know what day. I haven't checked with people what day it is. I think it's a Wednesday. I think I'm flying out of town at 5 o'clock. Anyways, this is Chat GTM. We are back again for our very final. This is the crown jewel of our podcast that we did. In fact, we're a little bit informal, but you know what? We're a little bit different. So with us today are the founders and amazing minds from GM Pilot. I'm fortunate enough to be here with Mr. Cijoy and his business partner, Alonzo. Guys, thank you for the show. And also forgot to introduce my amazing partner and cohort,
Chad Ward.
We have introduced ourselves so many times, Joe. I'm sorry I have to edit out this intro because you'll probably never use any of the ones I did. But just in case it goes long, we got it. So, guys, first, how was the show? What do you like? Tell me all about why you came here, how it felt. There's really, to me, there's a lot of good energy in the air.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, tons of good energy. Great to catch up with old friends, make some new friends.
Yes.
Good to get out there and share what we're doing and see where it goes.
I love that you said new friends. I was talking to people that all hang out together. I'm like, you know them already. Leave them, like they're clustered in their own pod, their own people. Like break up, talk to some new folks, right?
Yeah.
Alonzo, what did you think of the show?
Yeah, same. I liked it. I went to a lot of sessions and had a lot of great conversations. I liked the tone of this, which was, everybody was here in the spirit of like trying to understand solutions. I love meeting all the other vendors. I think it's great for, restaurant leaders to be surrounded by all these great options. And so it's really clear now there's just a lot of opportunities for restaurants to get better and improve. And I think that there's some challenges ahead that keep getting mentioned.
Yeah.
But I think that to juxtapose against that, there's more options and opportunities for restaurants to combat them than there ever has been. And I think if there was a positive takeaway from me, it's that.
Well, I think you're right. You hit the nail right on the head, right? Because like let's be real. We are hearing a lot about some serious headwinds we're all heading into. And you can look at it two ways. Wow, it's going to be really tough. Or wow, there's a lot of opportunities for folks like you to make a big difference, right? Because what are the two things we know about restaurants? The biggest operating costs are what?
Labor and fit.
Exactly. And you impact one of those in a very significant way. So let's talk about that a little bit. Right? Was that, Chad, kick it off.
Well, even one of the sessions here was called Smarter Managers, yada, 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 AI. And Cijoy, I saw you in that room. And I imagined Brinker was there, Flynn was there. I was like, I know Cijoy's biting his lip. He just wants to jump in on the stage and provide some input on some of this conversation. But the idea that there's something unique about the manager in these operators, businesses that are uniquely able to be improved through AI and innovation. Could you speak to that role?
Sure. Obviously for us, our vision is to just enable the GM to be successful, right? And labor and food are the two things we thought about most. We chose labor. We really leaned in on it. Initially, I thought it was kind of narrow, but the depth of and complexity of helping GMs run labor properly is extremely fulfilling from a technologist's point of view and from all the operational changes and change management and everything else. But the acceleration of value from the let's get going, and then within 2 weeks, people are seeing financial results from it. That part has been quite amazing. Now, you can say, well, that looks simple on the surface. Well, your iPhone's easy to turn on, but it was $10 billion of engineering. So there's years and years of experience and engineering that went into this. But what you see at the other end of it is very simple and straightforward, which is you have great systems. Everyone needs to keep building those systems. The complexity around us is always getting more difficult to deal with. But the software systems, the data systems all have to continue to advance themselves. However, the GMs have to now deal with 10, 20 of those systems at the same time. The learning curves are always going to get higher. Our turnover is getting worse. So we looked at it from if we can cut down on training time and help just do some things for the GMs, not just give them information, but actually follow through and do it. You can hit the spot, but we're going to follow through. If we can do that part, the software vendors are better off because they've got a trained user on the other end of it. Operators are better off. The team members are better off. The guests are better off. our buildings are better off, our neighborhoods are better off, and our industry is better off. So that's our point of view of why we're pushing so hard.
So Zoe, I mean, given what you guys do, without going deep on the tech side, what are some like insights you've gained that just quickly highlight how complex labor is, right? That
It starts laughing because it is seriously complex.
Executives will go, yeah, you're right. That is rather nuanced and deep, isn't it?
Right, it is. Well, first, let me just say, I think, if I can talk about Cijoy and what he's done with GM Pilot is, and what he just touched on, which is there's an elegance to what we do. We've created a world, and the standard is kind of the iPhone, where you should be able to pick up technology without any training and use it. And that's what Cijoy's been able to build with GM Pilot. So it looks, like he said, simple on purpose. So the idea is that you can look at something and instantly know how to use it. And so from a labor management standpoint, that's really critical, because managers, as important as labor is, there's a lot that has to be done. And so in the past, because it is so complex, they were really only attacking the tip of the iceberg, right? Over time, really obvious things. And what we've uncovered is below the surface. I wouldn't say that, leaders didn't know that maybe, a lot of their team members were milking the clock. But sometimes they're surprised that they're punching their friends in and giving them a free shift. And sometimes they're surprised that just how poorly deployed they are. And sometimes they're surprised to the degree that it's making an impact on their bottom line.
Yep.
And there's this kind of status quo standard that the operating, labor expenses, somewhere between 24, 25%, and 30%. But what we're seeing is when we uncover below the surface all of these things that you knew were going on, but we're showing you to the degree, and then you go, okay, now what do I do about it? And we go, well, here's what you do about it. And we make that possible. Now it's not as complex, because the complexity was around, I know it's happening,
Right.
but there's not much I can do about it. 'Cause it's
Acceptable
not obvious.
losses or unacceptable losses do you accept?
Yeah. And how much time am I really going to ask my manager to spend on just this one thing?
Well, so one of the things that I know about you guys, the world might not know, right? Then we talk about a lot, and we've been on our previous podcast, we talk about, well, I already have a labor forecasting tool. I already have an optimized schedule, right? But it's not that in my head, all of a sudden I have this visual of a bed of nails. You can lay on it.
Right.
It'll keep you afloat and you're fine. But there's all that open space in between all those bed of nails that actually you're not paying attention to.
Right.
There's gold and everything between each nail that's supporting you. You're actually, it's kind of uncomfortable, but you're living with it.
Right.
Right? So tell us a little bit about how you guys kind of fill in that, make it a flat, nice, comfy bed as opposed to just some of these points that hold you up.
Well, I'll guess what my partner's
metaphor
going
may
to
be
say.
terrible.
No, the metaphor is great. But I think that the thing that we really try to push first is that GM Pilot is a service, okay? It's not software.
Yep.
And, one of the biggest pain points for restaurant companies is, different systems and how they get to talk to each other, and, whether or not the APIs are going to work consistently. And we're not about necessarily the software or that. We're about the enablement of the manager. That's the service.
Right.
And so what can we do to make them better at their jobs? Well, one of the things that there is a lot of inconsistency around is the use of the software.
Right.
One might be a super user.
Absolutely.
And one may not be, but the one that's not isn't necessarily a bad manager. They may be great at doing the work that we all started doing, decades ago. Right. That was already a full-time job. And so we want to make sure that we're providing, the kind of task replacement that no one's going to miss. No manager is going to be like, gosh darn, I wish I got to spend time moving all the widgets around on the schedule, but not taking away the part that we really think that humans are good at, which is making decisions in the moment, and managing their team. And so the software is really important to us.
Right.
We're the user.
Right. So actually, I actually had a light bulb moment, and that took you this long of working with us to have this aha moment.
Yeah.
So yesterday we were sitting down with Mr. Greg Majewski, right? And he was talking about what we found there's a kind of an average number of bits of software that people put in their tech stack now comes to around 16 different things. And even for Greg, that was a small number because there's another piece that contained about 9 of them, right? And so, but what Greg is sharing is like, well, yeah, but all the software doesn't really add to anything. It's actually just layered on top of layer. And so operators on analysts, right? And what my aha moment here is that it's the service, right? It's not, here's my next tool, let me look at my next dashboard. It's here's what you need to know. And that's dished up by you guys as enabled by the software and the solutions you've created that your experts know or your expertise can take and then translate to people and get them the actionable stuff they need. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the part. That is the key. And it's funny because we can talk to people all day long, and including myself, who's been in the conversation with you for almost a year now, and I'm now latching on again to, holy crap, it's not just another thing I have to look at. This is actually, tell me what to do, here I go. It's not now let me interpret this one.
And you don't have to trash your entire system and move to something else.
Yeah.
And that's the other pain point is like, with all these solutions, you also invested already in this. You got sunk costs, and what we want to be able to do is say, "Hey, listen,
Where's your ROI?
we're gonna get you what you invested in, right? And probably more than what you realize." And so, software companies are our partners, right? So we're not competitors.
You're not a threat to any of
companies. No, not at all.
So if there's the ISVs out there, right, and then software companies that are looking for a way to make themselves stickier, this actually might be something that will help them in that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
That's actually the software vendors got that immediately. And when I said, hey, this is what we want to do. We think that training GMs is taking too long.
Yep.
But if we can accelerate at least doing this work on their behalf, which is a critical piece, but it's also labor intensive and cognitively it's a heavy load. If we did that, then from my seat as a CIO and as a software vendor before, I know if I have a trained user that's being successful using the system, everyone's winning because the entire thesis of why you brought them in to get an ROI is now being fulfilled. Because the last mile of where a GF worked 12-hour shift and now they have to go do some admin work.
Yeah.
It's just, it could take 5 minutes, it could take 2 hours, but I'm already glassy-eyed and fatigued.
Right.
And I'm now just going to just do the minimum
Yep.
to just check the box and move on. Whereas if I did the maximum, then it would be extremely impactful to everybody. But how can you ask for that? And that one is there already fatigue. That's already taking more time away from family.
So GM Pilot really takes the wheel, does the heavy thinking, heavy lifting of the thought, and then how to get that process to actually make it actionable, and hands that over here, right?
Yeah. Done for you. That's it.
So, Joy, I want to go in an area that may be myth busting and maybe confirming what we've heard. Right?
Here we go.
But imagine that GM that says, you know what, I've been doing this 20 years. So I have an innate distrust with any kind of idea that data and algorithms could mirror the kind of decisions and schedule making, etc., that I don't know by virtue of my years of experience.
My schedule's bulletproof.
Contextual.
Yeah.
That guy works really well with her.
Yep.
The so-called ideal staffing level doesn't work, in our place from 4 to 6 because of this. How do you address this reality that the question of can data and algorithm and your automation match the experience level of the GM?
Never. So it's what people, let me just take a step back, go into my professor mode, right?
Here comes the voice.
So, excuses.
So rich.
So rich.
that baritone, so silky. Sorry.
With computing today, and in the foreseeable future, computers need massive amounts of information just to come to one insight or decisions. Humans need very minimal information to come to conclusions. As biological creatures, if we didn't, we all would have died off as Homo sapiens or Neanderthals a long time ago. Because if we could look at something and understand is that a threat or not, we would have deployed. For a computer, there's no match, absolute match. It takes 100 million Arabs, much more to get to some basic functionality. The amount of energy it takes to make a basic decision, things incredibly evolved. The human brain is a 35-watt light bulb football deck.
And some are dimmer than others.
Yeah.
And so in response to that guy, I think, then he said, I guess I shouldn't use GM Pilot. You say, well, actually in the real world, because of this and this, you have no idea how much value.
So there are certain math problems that a computer likes. Go run the square root of something on a 6-digit number. Computers hit up a pocket calculator is going to run and go right every time.
Yeah.
Making a decision on how do I feel about this person's capability? Not something that there is quantitative information on. And if it was, it would be just way too expensive to go do. That's not a good use.
Yeah.
So the good uses are, let me do the math problems. And the regular everyday math problems of, I've got this many hours of people to work with. I got this much as a labor rate. I know I need them about this point in time. Those are straightforward solves for any computing system. Well, let's do that. We follow along with what you put people on, and then we pick up those things and try to apply them as best we can. But we still, again, it's dealer's choice how the brand or the location wants to run it. We'll make a schedule like an assistant general manager would. The GM's like, hey, buddy, I know something else you didn't know. I'm going to make an adjustment. Absolutely. That's up to you.
Okay.
But we're there to support.
Makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, it sounds like even with sophisticated leadership teams, you're still offering an element of time savings, right? They can always polish it up, but you can save them.
There's consistency, which also means you have to go to schedule a lot of time to not what you get mailed. we're taking that precaution. Yeah, that's getting done.
So, no, but Cijoy just blew my mind with the mic drop moment he just had, right? But the thing that was occurring to me as we had that mind blown, I might even overlay this whole guy going, is that tenures of managers are getting shorter and shorter and shorter, right? Tribal knowledge is not being passed on, and apprenticeship is not really happening. That's a fact.
Correct.
So things like this are going to be critical to maintaining that continuity, right? You just don't have enough time and grade to know what's right and what's wrong. You haven't been seasoned.
Yep.
I think this is something that you guys do, and you can help kind of buffer that problem, and it is something that is a problem. It continues to be, right?
That's right. And think about what it means for the continuity of the business is, if manager turnover is typically a year, if you're lucky, then, is the business then every time, you have that new manager coming in, the turnover,
so you're going to lose money for a couple of weeks or a month.
So there's all this time. So, for me, it would be great if we could create systems that were so easy for someone to walk in and they have, a human skill set that's really critical, observational skills, but they didn't have to spend a bunch of time learning new systems. And I think that's the spirit of what we're doing. We, like Cijoy said, we focused on labor, but GM Pilot is, what we're about is making systems work better and enabling all the human experience in the restaurant. And I think when you get that, when you solve that problem, you don't get the fluctuations in the business, at least around your control.
Well, it's not so bipolar, right? It's more smoothed out.
Correct.
Right.
That's right.
Well, I know that our co-host here, has to get on a plane and head back home and start going through all the conversations we had and figure out what we need to do next.
It's a long list.
Look, I just want to say one thing about the two of you. We are so grateful for not just what you've done for us, but I think what you've done for everybody in the industry. And I'll just tell anybody watching this that you could not find two better guys than Chad and Beck. And we love Ington. So
I'm not crying twice in one day. This is not going to happen.
Here it goes. I'm not going to cry. You're going to cry.
I had that weird introspective moment on the lawn this morning, and I literally blubbered on LinkedIn and go, I'm so happy and thankful. But it's true. But thank you guys. That's so flattering. And knowing where you guys come from, all the people that that's such an amazing compliment for both of us. It's just
right on.
We love you guys right back. Honestly.
Love it.
Thank you. So last part, we always like to do this. One, where are you going to be next? That people can see you. NRA. Okay. NRA.
Yep.
Cool. We'll be there too. We'll have a podcast here. We'd love to invite you to come on that one. There'll be the late night restaurant show, so it's a little bit crazier. That'll be our friend from Canada.
A bit crazier.
It's Nucking Futs. Something about nuttier than squirrel bleep. But yes, it's a good show. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so NRA, and then where do people find you? What's the best way to get a hold of you? Clearly, you're on LinkedIn. You're probably all over that platform. But what's your website? Just a little bit of tip to how I can get to you quickly.
We're gmpilot.com.
Boom.
So easy to remember. Yeah, LinkedIn is great. And we are, all over the place. I mean, we're not mentally, physically.
That's me.
Sometimes we're mentally.
Which one?
Yeah.
Time back in the corner here. Sausage joint.
Yeah.
So we're hitting up conferences and Cijoy's in Dallas, and I don't think there's a restaurant concept on the planet. It's just not in. So he's with people there.
He's in the hub.
I'm doing the same in California. So one-on-one, we love the face-to-face. So that's
nice.
big for us.
Oh, cool. Well, guys, we're going to go and wrap it up and just say, because this is the final episode of Chat GTM from the RLC 2025 show. Thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in, spending your time with us, and choosing to spend time with us. That's extremely flattering for us. Thank you for taking interest in the people we take an interest in. We don't talk to anybody that we don't care about or think that's going to be doing something special in the marketplace. We are not pay to play in that sense. We like to talk to people, get the real story. And thank you for coming along. These are genuine people, and they genuinely want to help. So you know what to do next. Reach out to them, reach out to us. But one and biggest thing is just keep working, keep trying, and keep growing. Our industry is great. If you're a restaurateur, keep working at it. And you know you have a tribe around you that is probably one of the greatest in any industry I think I could conceive. I've been in a couple industries in my life. You guys probably have two here and there. It's different.
Yeah.
Right. And so I am grateful, and Chad and I are extremely grateful to be part of this tribe and be connected with such amazing people as Cijoy and Alonzo. So we'll see you again in the next RLC. And from here, that's Chat GTM signing off. This show is a wrap.